Hey, you guys, some of you all know me. I'm going to scoot this little thing over so I don't hit it or anything. So it's nice to see you guys. I have been in districts and things like that and in classrooms with new teachers most of the time when you guys have been meeting. So this is really the first or second time that I've really been able to be with you all. And I hate that, but I should be here with you guys the rest of the time. So my name is Kim Sargent. I am the social studies instructional specialist for KVEC, but I do a whole big bunch of questioning on the side, or actually it's just a part of my life, period. So today what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about the question formulation technique. So I think that one of my new teachers is going to be coming on with us, and she has experience. I hope she's here. She's going to talk to you guys a little bit about that. But what I would love to know, if you guys will pop it in the chat, Mary can let me know, or Bernadette or Brana, who's ever looking at the chat. How many of you guys have heard of or experienced question formulation technique? More than likely as a student, maybe even. Just curious if any of you guys have heard of it, done any reading about it.
Seen it somewhere, used it for several years.
Oh,
Some
now who was that?
experience. Susan Field said used it for several years.
Oh, I didn't know Susan had come on. Well, Susan, guess what? Going to be asking you some questions. You're supporting your teacher, Candace, there. That's beautiful. And Cody is with us, and Cody has experienced it. So we'll talk about that. This is good. All right. So what we're going to do first is we're going to experience a QFT. So I have chosen. So I don't, because this is my first time with you guys. I don't know how many elementary, middle, and high school folk that I've got. So Mary, about how many do I have in that kind of, if you had to give just like a guess?
You have a total of 16 right now
Okay.
in the room. So as far as I'm not sure about the grade level mix right
Yeah.
now.
Well, that's okay. So I'm kind of going with this theme because it's timely. And quite honestly, one of the people on this call today on the Zoom was actually the reason why I even created this whole thing in the first place. So that's pretty cool. So that being said, before we even start, what I'd like for you guys to do not put anything in the chat yet. I'm going to do this with you guys just like I would do this with distance learning with my students when I do question formulation technique. And I want you guys to keep those in mind. I know we say QFT a lot, but I want you guys to remember this question formulation technique. So that being said, my students, for the next 20 minutes, I want you guys to think about, before we start this whole thing, I want you to think about what you think you know about the first Thanksgiving. And Cody, no cheating. So we're going to do what we call a waterfall chat. So get it in your mind, get it into your box, but don't hit enter. All right. When I give you the cue here in 20 seconds, you guys are going to hit enter, and all at one time, we're going to see what everybody thinks that they know. But what do you think that you know, or what do you remember about the first Thanksgiving? All right. You have 15 seconds now to get your post ready, but don't hit enter until I tell you guys to. Okay. You have 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hit enter as you get the thing going. What do you
Oh,
know about the first Thanksgiving?
Pilgrims in the Mayflower, Plymouth, Massachusetts, Squanto. Pilgrims and English joined together in unity to celebrate a successful harvest. Squanto was the Indian that helped the Pilgrims. It was a 3-day festival. Natives, Pilgrims, food, trades, treaty. The colonists learned a lot from the natives. Pilgrims and the Native Americans shared food together. The first Native Americans shared with the Pilgrims who were having trouble growing crops. The Pilgrims and the natives got together for a meal 3 days long. Pilgrims and Indians.
Awesome. So now that we think we know a bunch, we're going to engage in the question formulation technique. Now, in the question formulation technique, and unfortunately, and by the way, when we go into our breakout rooms in a minute, and please fix that, Mary, so that I can do that. I want to hop in and out of some of your all's rooms because I am going to listen. Definitely going to eavesdrop because I am the QFT police or the QFT monitor. I'm not going to call it the police today. So there are 4 rules, and I'm a firm believer in enforcing those 4 rules. But the first rule, of course, is ask as many questions as possible. These are the same 4 rules that you guys are going to use with your students. Exactly. So when we say ask as many questions as possible, rule number 2 has to be do not stop to judge, answer, or discuss those questions. You have got to hold the kids' feet to the fire on that one. Then rule number 3, is write the question down exactly as it is stated. That includes if you're doing it by yourself and you're thinking of a question, you go, no, 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 no. The minute that question pops in your head, I don't care how you said it. I don't care if it has a grammatical error, you write that question down exactly. Or if you're in a group and a pair, as in today, you guys are going to be in a breakout room, whoever ends up being scribe, because we are and by the way, scribes, if someone starts telling you a question and they stop themselves to correct it, don't let them. Say no. Say it exactly like it was in your head. And you guys are going to see later why that's really important. And then rule number 4, change any statements into questions. I don't often have to do that with teachers, but every now and then folks just want to say phrases and it's like, but how can we say that as a question? So again, ask as many questions as you possibly can. And rule number 2, do not stop to judge, answer, or discuss. Write the question down exactly as it is stated and change any statements into questions. So that being said, I want you to take about 10 seconds and I want you to type in which rule is going to be the hardest for you to follow. So now in 5 seconds, you're going to do that. And you don't have to wait for a waterfall on this one. I'm just curious as to which rule is going to be the hardest for you to follow. So ready? Go ahead and pop that in the chat. Which rule is going to be the hardest for you to follow?
Not jumping in to not correct the student.
Can you let me know what rule number?
Do not
okay,
stop.
I see 2.
Do not correct.
Yes.
Not answering questions. Do not stop. 2,
Yes.
not correcting, not stopping. Do not stop.
Oh, writing it down exactly.
Exactly.
There's a 3. Finally, we have a 3. So notice all those 2s were there. Okay. Any other 2s? Okay, there's a 2. Thank you, Sarah. Yeah. So let me tell you guys a little bit about that 2. And let me tell you why I'm not surprised that you guys said 2. And the reason why I'm not surprised is because that's the one I catch teachers on all the time. But if you had to guess which rule is the hardest for the kids or which rules, I think you'll be pretty amazed. And so Danelle said 3 because I am used to paraphrasing. Oh, I see, Danelle. We can't do that. Because here's what happens. So if I need as many questions as possible, especially if we're engaging in QFT for student-led inquiry, does that sound familiar? Hello, Danielson framework. If we are engaging in that, then I need as many questions as possible. So if you all break rule number 2, I don't get as many questions as possible because you're only ever going to get the questions that you want to study as a teacher is if you have lots of questions. You're going to see in a minute, we're going to be able to break those down a little. So rule number 2, don't break it, teachers, because teachers also, but they think the minute a question hits the floor, a minute a question is spoken, oh, they got to stop and answer it. No. Whatever happened to letting questions sit there for a minute, questions being put up in big letters on a parking lot or on the board so that you know that you come back to it. Because the idea that a question can be answered immediately means more than likely that question is DOK1, DOK2. We'll talk about that at another date. So number 3, writing that question down exactly as it is stated. If you change that question, you change that person's voice. And when we talk about social emotional learning, and we talk about DEIB, which I never put that in the right order, but if we talk about genuine belonging in a classroom, when you change a student's classroom or a classmate's question, you have just removed their voice, you've changed how they're perceived in the classroom, and you have endangered their belonging in that moment and in the inquiry. So don't break that rule. So, okay, got it, Danelle? That's not just at you, by the way. There's many other people in this room that I'm sure would be thinking about 2 and 3. Those 2, because with 3, we want to change it and make it grammatically correct. We can't do that. It's not ours. This is not our inquiry. So ready, class, I'm going to jump back into teachery kind of mode. So that being said, you guys are going to go into breakout rooms. When you go into those breakout rooms, you're going to be getting a Jamboard that you're going to write your questions on, okay? Your Jamboard number corresponds with the room number that you're going to go into. So if you go into room 1, you're going to be Jamboard page 1. All the pages are there together. And please don't go look at other people's Jamboards if you're struggling with the questions, which you guys will not be. We're actually doing a little bit of a complicated QFT today. I'm doing what we call a layered QFT. So that's because I've been doing it for a long time. But for those folks who have just done QFT, like this is your first experience, I'm going to encourage you guys, and I'm happy to help you. Like if you want to send me an email and say, Kim, do you have 5 minutes to talk about a QFT that I think about developing? Then I'm happy to help you guys do that. But you guys have got to remember, I've been doing QFT for 9+ years. So I'm going to do a layered one because I like to have fun. So the recorder, when you guys get in that group, the recorder will be the one who puts the Post-its on your Jamboard. That's so the rest of you guys can think. So number two, follow the rules as you work together, and you'll know those 4 rules. Remember, ask as many questions as possible. Number two, do not stop to judge, answer, discuss. Write the question down exactly as it was stated. So scribes on those, make people slow down and make people tell you exact, like question them so you get it exactly like they said it. And rule number 4, change any statements to questions. So that being said, and there's those rules again, because that's how much I believe in them. This is going to be the first image that you guys will look at. So in your packet, and Mary, go ahead and put that packet in there for everybody. So you guys, she's going to put the packet link in there, and that's going to tell you. So go into that with your team. And I'll wait till she posts that in there.
Sorry.
Oh,
I
that's
had the
quite
Jamboard.
all right. Quite all right.
It's in
So
there.
there's the student packet. So everybody open the student packet. This is going to be the first image that you guys look at. Then you're going to look at this one, and then you're going to look at this one. So you're going to have 2 minutes on the first image, 1 on the next, and 1.5 on the next. So you have the scribe in each group. When you guys get there, we need the broadcast watcher, if you want to call it that. We're going to let you know your times. Okay. So you get, like I said, a minute, or actually 2 minutes with this one, a minute with the next one, and a 1.5 minutes with the last one. So broadcast viewer, that could be person number 2 or person number 3 that comes into the room, whatever you guys want to do. So that person, though, is going to watch for the broadcasting, because we're going to be giving you guys times. Okay. All right. So Mary, let's get those rooms ready.
All right. So
and
2 minutes for the first.
Yes.
And
1 for the
second slide, and 1.5.
The third. Yes. So if you would also, Mary, pop in the Jamboard too, because I just realized everybody needs to access the Jamboard so they can all look at it. And go ahead and break those rooms out.
All righty. So I'm going to give just a second more to make sure that everybody's got to click on the 2 links. Because once I break you all out, you cannot get back to the chat. They can't see it. So, or they can see it, but they won't be able to see the links, I don't think, that we have. So I will go ahead and do the breakout rooms. And notice which room it has you join. When you go to do the room, be sure you notice which one it says to join. So here we go.
Thanks, guys. Good luck. So here we go.
Right.
Now, Mary, how can I get in there and eavesdrop?
Well, if you go to breakout rooms, you can see and you can join anyone you want to.
Oh, okay, good. I was hoping
you pull it up,
because I've done that. Yeah, I've done that in other rooms.
Just make sure you do not.
Oh, I know. Exit the meeting. Right.
Okay. Right.
Yeah. I've done this with other ones. I just didn't know if I could still do it. Oh, there's my share to breakout. Well, maybe I could have done that one other thing. So let me go to those breakout rooms.
I've learned something new today.
Yes.
What's that?
I learned something new right then. I didn't know that you could do that. I didn't know you could do that.
What?
Yeah.
Jump to room to room?
Yeah, I didn't know that. I mean,
I've known
people that have done that, but I didn't really know how they did it. So thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I made you a co-host so you can click on it too and you can look at it. I made you and Bronna both co-hosts so you can go.
Oh, thank you.
So that you can see what's going on. So if you wanted to join, you could, but now that also means you could close the rooms too. So don't hit close.
Yeah.
Oh God, I better not touch anything. Because
I knew you were going to say that when we said it. All right, I'm going to go check out room. I'm going to go check out room 1 because I got a couple of my folks in there.
Okay,
check it out, Kim. Let us know.
I'll be back. All right.
Be back.
It is a cool feature, isn't it? Okay, I got to watch the time because I'm guessing I'm the time police here. 2 minutes, and then she said,
"It is very cool."
All right.
I was about to lose my friends.
Now she said they had 2 minutes, so it's 55 seconds. So the next message I'm going to type to broadcast is going to say, now time to start slide 2. Questions. Do one of you all,
Mary,
do you want to go to Lori Moore in room 5?
Yeah. So if we do that, do we click join? Is that what we do?
Yeah, you click join breakout room and check on them, would you, while I'm working on the message? Can you do that,
So
Bernadette?
which one am I going to? Sure.
You're
5.
gonna,
You want me to go to 5?
yeah, go to 5.
Okay.
Good. Thank you. Kim, you're talking to me.
It muted me as I came back in. I'm going into these rooms because there was a tremendous misunderstanding. I'll talk to you in a second.
Okay.
I was thinking they might not understand because it was pretty quick. I'm like,
That's
she's
pretty
she's
quick.
so good. She knows her
She's-
stuff so well.
Yeah. And it's a little hard sometimes. All right, Kim,
Mhm.
you going to room 3?
You're muted.
You're muted. Now that is the timer for another minute. Do you want me to go ahead and broadcast for slide 3?
No, hold on a second. Hold on about 30 seconds for slide 3. Nora just joined the meeting? Because it shows that she may have just come into the meeting. So you can put her somewhere. I've got to go fix that Jamboard because it's saying that it's not going to let people in. So that's so let me go.
It's not an editor.
It should have been because I fixed that. Yeah, I fixed that, but God only knows because sometimes, we talk about the firewall. So let me go fix this real quick. Where's the Jamboard? Oh, it's in the do teacher thing. Oh my goodness, almost.
No,
oh my goodness.
it's right here. I've got it. Let's see.
Yeah, because I had it fixed that anybody could be an editor.
No, it's a viewer.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I had it fixed, but it did not take.
They should be able to refresh now.
So why don't you send everybody a message and tell them to refresh and to go use that Jamboard because it should have been okay. Yeah. Because when you and I were talking and I went off screen with it, I fixed it. And so it should be good. Thank you, Mary. All right.
All right. Do I need to help Melissa and Tori? Did you all just join? Or did you come out of a room? Let's see. You all just joined, maybe.
Yeah, so just pop them in a room somewhere. Nora, well, now Melissa was here. Oh, Nora switched from her phone to her iPad. Well, welcome back,
okay.
Nora. So what? Can you get back into your room?
What room were you in?
Okay, I'm going to go to room 4.
Okay, I'm going to put some of them in room 4. All right, I'm just going to add you all to a room.
Where was she supposed to be?
Well, Nora had typed in the chat she's in room 4, and I put her in room 5, but actually needed a couple of people in room 5 anyway.
Oh, okay.
She'll be all right, I hope.
Oh,
is that Kim? How's it going?
That's Kimber.
It's me. It's me. That's good. I'm going to go to that last room.
What do you want me to broadcast now?
Broadcast now. This is they have 1 minute to finish up, and they can look at any and all images and put more questions on the board.
Okay.
Because we have one. So I'm going to go down here to this last room. Well, the Bernadette's in there, so this could be good.
Yeah,
they're good.
Well, you can still go in if you want to. Now, is everything all right, Brana? You said you needed some juice. Was that just meaning you needed power for your computer?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. All right. It's like
I'm plugged in.
You're plugged? Okay. Gotcha.
She's having severe what?
The same. Why are they dressed different?
I don't know who that is.
Kim, you're muted. It mutes you when you come back into the main room.
Yes. So let me go ahead and do the slideshow. So some of you guys were finishing up asking some questions. So I want to apologize for the confusion with the technology. It's our friend until it's not. And today was one of those moments. So if you want to take a minute, if all of you guys, so Mary, if you want to access and put the Jamboard back into the chat, I want to give them a minute as a person, just as a singular student, to put your questions on the Jamboard. Because once she does that, all of you guys should be able to access it. Because the whole idea is for all of us to go through and ask those big questions that we want to ask. So I did a layered so that you guys would see the possibilities and how you could do this that would be really good for math and for science. And you can see it's really good for social studies. But the thing is with this, doing it technology, first time that you guys have seen it, being a teacher, hindsight's 2020. So I probably would have just done one image, but I want to show you guys some other examples of one image. So when you guys looked at these 3 images, and especially going back and looking at this one, and going forward and looking at this one. Now what I want you guys to do, and I'm going to go through and describe the process first, and then I'm going to send you guys out in the room to do it. So normally with a QFT, and today I'm not going to do this step. I'm cutting this step out. But I'm going to really recommend that you guys do this with your students. And Susan and Cody out there can tell you that this is a pretty valuable thinking point, as Susan Fields and Cody Mitchell. So what happens when you do this with your students, you're going to ask the students to go through all their questions and identify them as either closed or open. Then I like to have a discussion the first time I do QFT with my kids about the difference between a closed and an open question. And the kids will tell you very quickly that closed are that closed, 1 or 2 words. You can open and close your mouth really quickly, if you do this with kindergarten, first grade. But if you are, and then the open questions, you have to answer for a while. You have to think about your response, that whole kind of thing. And it can go on forever. So identifying how you're going to answer each of these questions lets you know if it's closed or open. But here's the fun part. When you have this discussion with your kids, they're going to tell you the closed questions are easy. And they like them on test because they can get done with the test really quickly. They don't like the open-ended questions. So it's really important for us to identify these questions as either closed or open. Then what I like to do with the students, and again, we're not going to take that time to do this today. We're going to ask them to take a closed question and make it open and add it to the bottom of their list. Then we're going to ask them to take an open, change it to a closed, and add it to the bottom. So they've just increased. And in just a moment, I'm going to talk to you guys about the value of open and closed-ended questions. But what I am going to ask you guys to do one more time, and we're going to give you 2 minutes to do this. Let me go back. So you have 2 minutes once you go into those rooms. I know that some of you guys had a hard time getting those questions on there. So as a team, and that's why we want to give you guys 2 minutes to do that. I want you to prioritize, and this says 5, but that should be, because Mary, you saw me change this today. Don't know why it's not changed. But anyway, when you guys go into your questions, I want you to identify 2 questions. You're going to prioritize. And those 2 questions that you and your team come together, that you're going to put on page 6 of the Jamboard, because that's going to be everybody's 2 questions they donate to our question bank. And that's going to be the one I project up here on the screen. We want 2 questions from your group that you need answered to know what really happened at the first Thanksgiving. Okay, so I'm going to repeat that again. You and your team get together. You're going to identify 2 questions as a team from your Jamboard page that corresponds with your room number, your breakout room. Then take those 2 questions and put them on the 6th page of the Jamboard. Everyone should have access now. So I think Mary, one more time, and I think she's already done it. Yep,
They
got
already they've got their Jamboard, but yep, they do have a certain color Post-it note you want them to try to use if they can, right? If they can figure out how to do it.
And it's at the top of the page. So just for your room number and your color page. Okay. So Mary, one more time, guys, let's do this. We can do it. We can do it, team. 2 minutes. Here we go.
Devin and Pauline. Are you all having trouble joining your rooms?
Yes, I've
Can
not been.
Can you see the little bar with all the little pictures, like with the mic and the video at the bottom? There should be one that says breakout rooms, or go to more, and it
Yes,
should
I
have
found it.
You found it? Okay, good. Devin, are you having trouble? Says Devin is connecting to audio. She said 2 minutes, right, Brana?
Yeah.
There's Kim. There she is. Devin, I think, is having trouble connecting. It's showing he's
Oh.
connecting to audio.
It happens. It happens.
Yes, it does. That's
And
technology.
yeah, and let me share my screen again. Yeah, I had to go, and I did not, I hit leave room and somehow I took myself out.
Good job. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I've done that too.
Okay, so how many seconds do we have there, Mary?
I'm going to give you probably, it says 10, but I'm going to give you
Mhm.
just a few more because
Okay.
of, I did not, how are they doing on the Jamboard? Can you see it?
I'm going over to it right now. It's looking good. I mean, from what I saw from a distance a minute ago. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Oh, this is awesome.
Look, they're doing great.
They are. So we only have 4 rooms, right?
No, there were 5.
Okay.
Oh.
So ask everyone to bring their 2 best questions one more time. Bring their 2
Okay.
best questions. It says I can actually broadcast. Does that mean I can actually like
Yeah,
say it out loud?
you-
Can I?
I think so. Maybe.
You know what? I'm going to get sassy and I'm going to do it.
Broadcast voice. Try it. Go for it.
Oh, it's not letting me. That little panel is hidden.
Let me see. Do a message then.
Yeah, do a message. Tell everyone to put their
So-
2 best questions on page 6. Oh, I'm dying to copy some of these questions and put them over there myself.
You want me to put 30 seconds remaining? Or,
Yeah. Oops. Oh, it already did it.
Right.
Oh, they already done it. Okay, good. Let me delete that one. This is great.
All right. You want me to start closing rooms? It'll give them a 10-second warning.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm going to have this broadcasted so everybody can see it.
Okay. They've done a good job.
Yes, they did. But I mean, this is hard to do.
Yes. It's
This is hard
easier
to
in the
do
classroom.
remotely. It's much easier in the
Yes.
classroom.
Yes.
Much easier. Okay, you guys persevered and you did awesomely. So if I could ask, see, I know I've got 4 and 5 on here. If groups 1, 2, and 3 could pop your all's questions onto page 6 here, just go grab them. You can go right click on them and hit copy and bring it to this page. This is page 6 on the Jamboard. That would be awesome. Because I see some great questions, like right here. I see some great questions on here for. So yeah, just grab your all's questions and get them over there. Oh no.
Kim, is that where you are?
No.
But this morning I heard that too. Did you hear it this morning, Bert?
Okay. Oh, there we go, Pink. Good job, group 2. Thank you. Yeah, just drag your all's questions over.
Awesome.
Thank you, group 3. I see your alls. Thank you, thank you. Oh, the shells in the bottom of the picture. As many times as I've looked at this, I've never seen the shells. See, this is why other people's questions are great. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the questions. So what happens with your kids? And what's really neat is I actually have, like I said, and I think he's still in the meeting. Cody Mitchell, yep, there he is. Cody, if you'd open up your mic and talk about some of the questions that your kids produced when you did this with your kids. Take about 30, 45 seconds and tell us a little bit about that.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
So I mean, on the first picture, they was just, I mean, their questions was kind of all over the place, but it was a good thing because it was the first time they done QFT, and before the QFT, I had a hard time getting them to like open up about pictures and making their own questions and stuff like that. And it's a lot easier for them to look at the picture and write it down and not really be judged or think about that question and go on to the next one than it is for them to sit there, raise their hand, and ask it out loud in front of everybody. So that's what I really liked about it.
Yes.
And it was pretty good. It's a pretty good experience with them.
Yeah. Well, you also did a layered QFT right off the bat because I came in your classroom and demonstrated it. So, for that next one, and you guys, you and I will talk about that later. We'll plan just a really simple one for you, and you guys will see that in the ones I want to show to demonstrate. So, what I would do as a teacher now, some of your all's questions are really fancy, so I can tell that you're my gifted and talented kids. Okay, because I'm seeing these, and believe it or not, you guys, if I had typed up, like another teacher has done this recently, and if I showed you her questions. They had a question on there about why is there a dog? They had a question about why are the Indians being served on the ground? And then here's another one. Notice that two different groups noticed that the Native Americans or the Indians were sitting on the ground. This one about why does everyone look divided? So that right there tells me I've got a student that is picking up. They're very much inferring into the picture and things like that. So this student's thinking at a higher level. When I come up here, what inferences can we draw about the setting? That is a teacher thinking into a student moment, because we had a discussion with that group earlier. And how does the picture convey the sense of community? So when we think about how students would ask those two questions, we could think about that. And why is there a man wearing a helmet today? A fifth grade class said, why is there only one man in armor? I think all of these things are things that we need to talk about. You guys did a phenomenal job, absolutely phenomenal job. If we had had technology work on our side, we could have talked about that. So going back into this, so we prioritize those questions because those questions for me as a teacher, those are the ones I'm going to use. So what I've got planned for you guys tomorrow as a student is we're going to read an article, and that article is I'm going to read to the students, and we're going to do the 3 read because it's not going to be a really long article, and it's not. And then we're going to see how many of those questions we can answer. And then we have a short video that's about 2.5 minutes that I'm going to show. And I'm going to be incredibly careful about those kind of things that I'm going to bring in. So, because I'm going to make sure that they're from reputable organizations. And most importantly, I'm going to make sure that it challenges some of those narratives that we've always kind of carried around about this, especially now, as you guys know, October 12th is no longer Columbus Day for some folks in the United States. It's now Indigenous Peoples Day. And you have some of those indigenous people that do not celebrate Thanksgiving. They celebrate Thanksgiving at the time that it corresponds with their indigenous calendar. So we have a lot of different ways to kind of look at this, but reflecting as a team, if we had time, what I was going to have you guys do, and it's important that you do this with your kids. Why did you choose the questions you chose? Where are your questions in the sequence that, in the sequence, in the list of the entire thing, getting your kids to recognize how they think. But then individually, I love to ask these. So how did asking questions help you learn about the first Thanksgiving today? And how did you learn it? Cody, did you get to reflect with your kids?
Yes. Yeah.
So what were those? Because we looked at that day, didn't we?
Well, what we done is that I believe you brought three different colored stickers, right? And then we let them vote on it.
Mhm,
And then the next day I was able to take those questions and write them on the board.
mhm,
And then even from there, we narrowed them down again. And then that's the
mhm,
ones we used and reflected on with that.
mhm. Yeah. But the reflection questions like this, because I didn't think we got to reflect like this, Cody, and I hate that. So, but what I'm going to ask you guys to always think about doing. So I want you guys right now as an individual, and I'm going to do this quickly because I know what time it is. I can see that, Mary. I'm keeping that. So what I want you guys to do as individuals, and if you guys don't care, normally I don't let my students do this. When they do this individual reflection, I want it on a Post-it note and I keep it. And it's a communication between the student and me, because sometimes reflecting like this is the kind of stuff, this is my formative information that I need to really inform how I'm going to teach this the next day, or how often I'm going to do QFT, or if I need to do QFT more often. So I'm going to ask you guys just to pop in the chat, how did asking questions help you learn today? And I want you just to think about that. So if you guys would just pop that in the chat. How did asking questions help you learn? And notice I'm kind of abbreviating this. How did asking questions help you learn today? And this is not a waterfall, so just pop it in there as you go. And first of all, I want to apologize, you guys, about trying to do this too layered. Mary and I are going to have a long conversation when this is, actually, it'll be short for Mary, long for me.
It made me
Because I'll be
think
like
a child. In the
awesome.
chat, it made me think like a child. Makes you think like a student, think like a student.
Good. Because it's so important for us to get that perspective sometimes, isn't it? So when we think of the traditional classroom, this is the value of question formulation technique. When we think of the traditional classroom, and I think some of you guys, when you look at this, and especially as a new teacher, some of you guys are going to think like this, my job is to do this and the kids do this, and my other job is to do this, the kids do this. And we very much think like that because sometimes we're going through those classes when we're in college, those methods courses, we're thinking, we're being told that, this is what instruction looks like, and this is, but in reality, we get there and we start doing that. Sometimes things don't work for us. And then the big thing for us too is we want to, yes.
In the chat, they've added some more comments I thought you'd like to hear. Allowed to see other perspectives. It changes how you think. It opened up my mind on different ways to view the image and showed me things I would not have noticed. It created depth, pulled out the parts that stand out to students, not the teacher. It helped me to plan what kind of questions I may have to prepare for. Asking questions make you think more in depth.
Well,
sorry to interrupt, but I thought you'd want to hear.
I'm glad you did. I'm really glad you did. So when we think about the, questioning, and this is something I always bring into teachers, so you guys can see this. And this was a study that was done by Dillon in 1990, and it was longitudinal. And I know you guys are thinking, well, 1990, Kim, was almost 40 years ago, 35 years ago. It was, but not a lot has changed since then. So when we start thinking about it, I know you guys have stood at the front of the room before and said questions, and nobody says anything. So when we think about that, this was a longitudinal study that was done with elementary and secondary students, following them all the way from elementary all the way through high school, and seeing what changes. And when we think about what the average student, notice here says the teacher is usually the person who asks the questions. We all know that. In a longitudinal study of elementary secondary school classes, Dillon found that each student asked only how many questions, and normally I have teachers guess. So I'm going to show you guys. By the time they get to middle school, they're only asking one question a month. So when we think about that, the average preschooler goes from 100, I think it's actually 200 to 300 questions a day a preschooler asks. When we talk about that preschool kid asking that many questions, what happens between preschool and middle school that gets that student going from hundreds of questions a day to one? But I want you guys to look at the very bottom of this page, because like most adults, kids will do what they are rewarded for. And in school, they are rewarded for having correct answers, not asking good questions. So what is this? So QFT is a step-by-step process. In your all student packet, or in your all, new teacher packet, the folder, the Google folder that goes with our training today, I want you guys to go into that. I've given you a one-pager. I've given you a one-page Google slide that talks about the steps, but most importantly, I've given you a more in-depth sheet that is front and back. It's a PDF and you can print that off. That enables you guys to see the process that we kind of went through today. Remember, I cut out 3 of the steps because we're only here for an hour. I can do an hour and a half QFT presentation, but a 1 hour is almost impossible. And you guys will kind of see this, because for me, QFT is about collaboration and communication. And in 1 hour, we don't have a lot of time for that. But when we think about it, and it says here it's a rigorous process, you guys saw that. Now I could have just used one image, but as you guys know, especially those last 5 or 6 of you guys that were popping in there, if we had just looked at the traditional image of at the Thanksgiving, it would have been like, okay, that's Thanksgiving. But when you took that and you compared it to the last one, several of you guys were picking up on there was a lot more people in that last picture. That first picture just shows a few. And in that last picture, there were many, and this was something the students have been picking up on with this other teacher the past 2 days, is that they're noticing there were a lot of American Indians that were there and a lot of indigenous people. So that's the rigor part. The rigor part is that students are the ones doing the thinking, not us. So when we think about that, notice at the top of the page, it says that it's a foundational skill, which means it can be taught and it should be taught and it must be practiced. And so that's what, and when you can come back and look at a lot of these, but if we really think about who we are as citizens, a good citizen asks a lot of questions. And when I say citizen, I'm not just talking social studies. When I went into the one group, you guys, there was language arts folks that were in there and they were wanting to question the kids into it. But all of a sudden, when I stepped into the room, and you guys know who you are, when I stepped into the room, I said, no, you ask questions as your students. Because believe it or not, they're going to ask the questions that we need, just as Cody told you guys a second ago. So here's the thing I want you guys to see in this. When we talk about, again, the Danielson framework, and we talk about metacognition that's in there, you're going to see where metacognition comes into play with this. So in the QFT, there's 3 thinking abilities. I'm going to tell you guys, it took them 14 years. They're not slow learners. They're incredibly pedagogical and very sound scientists that works on this QFT process. And it took them a long time to really get the rules just right. Those rules had all kinds of variations, but asking as many questions as possible is about inquiry. Rule number 2 about not stopping to judge, answer, discuss is recognizing student voice, along with rule number 3, because this is about student voice and student agency. So when we look at this, so let's look at the 3 types of thinking: divergent, convergent, and metacognition. So in 3B in the Danielson framework, you're looking at questioning and discussion. These are the only instructional techniques that were mentioned in the first version of the Danielson framework, because that's how important they are to the process. When we give the students the space for QFT, and let me go back for a second, when we give them that space, and you guys see it squared right here, come back and look at this PowerPoint. Very much that's going to be accomplished and exemplary, because we are going to use those students' questions to drive our instruction the next day or for the next week. The first time that my students did it, I actually used those questions to create a mini unit. We, just like Cody said, we got all those questions on the board, we narrowed them down, and we took the ones we narrowed them down to, and it was an 8-day unit. You have to remember I teach high school though. So when we look at this, divergent thinking is when we take those questions from closed and we make them open. We're giving our students the opportunity to engage in divergent thinking. Think about how the verbs have to change. And I've done this with students several times this school year. What, who, when, those are closed. So the kids will look at this and I'll say, now, how can you change? Because they know the question they want to ask. And it's so much fun watching them look at that question and say, how can I change this to open? They start thinking about the words is. Like a student the other day said, can I use is? And I went, is a question word. We don't often think about that, but it is. And then they'll say, well, how did? And they start thinking about all the questions they can put in there. So that's when we engage in divergent thinking. But now sometimes we need, in social studies, I know we do, and in math you do, we have to do convergent thinking, which means it does narrow down to a very specific detail or a very specific number, whatever it may be. So that's the convergent thinking. But when I give you guys the opportunity as a team, and we didn't have time to do that today, why did you pick those priority questions? Notice how you guys were thinking as you were picking those priority questions. That is metacognition. So I'm going to go through these examples really quickly. I'm proud of myself. I've almost caught up, Mary. So let's look at the classroom examples. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to talk about these for a long time. If you had to copy a slide, though, of all the slides, it would be this one. Because this one kind of gives you a little secret about QFT. What stays the same with QFT are the 6 steps. Now, every now and then of time, but here's the thing. The reason why I say that the protocol has to stay the same, you guys will see that in certain steps, that's where you're really handing the instruction over to the students. When you're handing that classroom over and giving them power, you're handing over the reins of learning, which is their responsibility. Ours is teaching, facilitating, guiding. Theirs is learning. And if they're not asking their own questions, they're not learning. Just as they said in the Silver and Strong, I shouldn't say they're not learning, but they're not learning to the level maybe they want to learn. But the other day in a Silver and Strong, and I know you're excited, Mary, they're referring to this. One of the things they said that really was powerful for me in the training they did is they said, change the question, change the engagement. So when we change who's asking the question, that drives rigor and relevance through the roof. We've got to hand that learning over to our students, guys. What does change is facilitation. So I'm getting ready to show you guys that. So here's an example of a kindergarten. Whoops, I went back too far. This is a kindergarten. Now notice it's just a picture. It has no words. This is an image I want to show the kids before one of our science lessons. And you guys can see all these things that, and you guys are looking at this. So if you were going to ask your own questions as adults, so please open up your mics. I'm only going to give you, and I'm so sorry, 30 seconds. Just open those things up. Give us questions that you would ask about this as a student. Think kindergarten. Or pop it in the chat because Mary is fast and awesome at reading them. But go ahead, Pauline. What would be your question?
Won't the mommy eat the babies?
Okay, what the mommy, hopefully not, but what the mommy eat the babies? I see somebody popped one in the chat there.
Can the baby swim?
Can the baby swim?
Why?
Awesome.
Why are the babies on her back?
Wonderful. Give me another one. Come on, guys. You guys are awesome.
How
many babies could fit on her head?
Okay. How many babies could fit on her head? I like
how
that.
many, wait a minute. How big will the babies get? Why is there just 2 babies? Why are the babies a different color?
Oh, wait. I just did something wrong, by the way. I can tell you this. Let me tell you this really quick, Mary. We can't express anything when students ask questions. All we ever say is, thank you. And I accidentally gasped because I was excited when you asked that one question. So all we say to our students is, thank you, when they give us a question.
What if the babies fall? What is the green stuff? Why are the babies completely out of the water? Where is the mama going?
Well, isn't that interesting? Here, I'm going to show you guys the questions the kindergartners asked. And I'm not going to say anything for 10 seconds while you read those. And what I would love for you guys to do when you look at this is just give me emojis, on the reactions, go down to the reactions and just, as you read over those. But look at that. Is the alligator camouflaged? Notice how they said, what is the green stuff? Whoever asked that question, it's like you were psychic. Why are they in the water so low? Why are baby alligators on top of the mommy's back, Pauline? Why are the baby alligators' eyes white and the mom's black? Oh, there's all kinds of questions there. So give me an emoji there, to kind of, give those kids a little shout out, so to speak, what you thought about their questions. Now I want to throw math in. Okay. Yeah. So this is going to be my Q focus. And by the way, that's what we call that. The thing that we give the kids to develop their questions around. I'm going to give them this Q focus. And I'm going to leave it up there. But let me tell you what changes. Notice how facilitation, I was letting you ask the questions out loud because I was the teacher and you're kindergartners. You don't write. Now, can you talk with your neighbors? You can. But with questions, I'm going to do that as a small or as a large group sometimes, because you usually only have about 20, 23 kids in a kindergarten class kind of thing. I'm going to give the kids the chance to ask it out loud. But with 4th graders, because this is math, I'm going to give everyone a Post-it note. They're going to put their name on the part that sticks out, on the part that has the sticky. That's where they're going to put those questions. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you why. Because students grow, especially in math, at different rates. We don't ever want a student to feel, we don't ever want a student to feel badly in our class. We want that learning to be open and to be welcoming. Again, going back to this DEIB thing, okay? That's social emotional learning. Because with stress, our hippocampus shrinks, and our hippocampus is where learning is processed and stored. So we have to de-stress a little to learn. So here's going to be, so my 4th graders are going to put their questions on the back, because now I'm going to go ahead and spoil it. Here are the questions these 4th graders developed. I want to do this one a little bit differently. I want you guys to look at these questions, and I want you to tell me the 3 kids that have it. The 3 kids that when you look at their questions, and by the way, I'm so great with math that I'm student number 9. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that. So if you look at number 9 there, okay? So, but I want you guys to look at this. Who are 3 kids that when you look at their questions, you're like, oh my gosh, This kid is going to learn variables in 20 minutes. That kid, by the way, the next day, after you teach variables and you come in, those kids are going to be your group leaders with your students who are struggling or who need a little extra push. That's my differentiation that day. I'm going to pull those kids to the forefront and say, hey, you've got 3 students you're going to work with today. Hey, you go on. So now that being said, what 3 kids get it? If you want to open your mic and tell me, you math people out there, just shout it out. What 3 kids get it when it comes to math?
10,
10,
7 and 10.
7. Do the numbers have to be the same because the smiley faces are the same? Any other kid?
I would say 12.
Can we do this for any number? Yeah. There's actually about 4 on here.
14.
Let me go back to 14. Do we always have to use 3 things? Absolutely. So you guys see those. Now, here's another social studies example, and I love it and everything, but we don't have time. Here's my science. And notice that this is 10th grade, but you can also do this one in middle school. So I'm going to put this one up. I would love for you guys, because I am running low, but I'm almost done, Mary. I'm almost finished. What I would love for you guys to do is to look at this. What are some questions that we have looking at this? So I'm looking for you, science folks.
Why is there black above the water line?
Why is there black above the water line?
Where is this at?
Where is this?
Where? How did this form?
Thank you. Notice the power in just saying thank you, by the way, you guys. So I want to tell you a little story. When we say good question, or oh, and we get all, oh, and okay, here we go. Why does the water look blue, but the snow looks white? Thank you. So I didn't gasp a while ago for that question. I just gasped because I thought there was a question, so I stopped myself. I want you guys to think about it. If we don't give a reaction, that keeps the inquiry open, and students are not afraid, because QFT, as Cody heard me say several times, QFT is a no judgment zone. Notice how he said he had used visual images with the students before, but they were so reluctant to ask those questions out loud. Well, they were reluctant because, one, they just knew there had to be a right question, right? Well, when you're engaging in inquiry, all questions are right. And we have to create an environment that indicates that. And that environment is for us to just say, thank you. Because that says, I hear you, I see you, you are part of this, and you are valued. 2 simple words. Another reason why another thing that he did, that we did differently in the classroom that opened them up, is that they talked to each other just as you all did before they talked to the whole class. Because we had to give them the opportunity sometimes to develop that schema. So here were some of the questions that this high school class asked. Now their questions are going to look pretty mature for the greatest part. So those students are going to ask very different questions. How fast is the ice melting? Where does it lead to? Is this in Canada? How might global warming affect the glacier? Now here's my last one. And look at that. Oh, it's 4:30. I'm going to go over like 20 seconds, Mary. So I'm going to show you guys this one because this is a Pike County example. So this was a 1st grade class. And this shows you guys every grade, every kid. And I want to emphasize every kid. So if you think that your accelerated students, your gifted and talented, are going to be your best question askers, I'm going to tell you no. And one reason why I'm going to tell you no is because they want to know what the questions are, because they know what they have to study, because they want that perfection. They want to be the best on that assignment. So it's not necessarily about thinking deeply, even though they have the tremendous capability to do that. But it's your kids who have the most questions that when we do QFT, their questions appear, because you only know what a student does not know by the questions that they ask. That's why with that 4th grade question, that 4th grade Q focus about variables, that's why I'm not going to have them publish their questions for everyone else to see. I want my students to be comfortable enough to reveal what they don't know by their questions. And then on the other side of that, the very kids who are used to asking more questions are our special populations. So when we give them an avenue, when we give them a venue, an arena, whatever you want to call it, when we give them that space to ask their questions, we're bringing them to the table of learning and making it equal. It levels the playing field. So here's these first graders. So this teacher was doing this with her kids, and what they were studying, oops, yeah, what they were studying, let's see if I can get this on here. And I'm going to do some of the questions. It's not good. There we go. So you guys can see some of the questions these first graders were asking. Pretty cool, right? And you look at some of these, the fact that they were identifying, do they live in the city or the country? That they're picking up on urban versus rural. Those kids, first graders, they were picking up on that. And what in that picture? Okay. Note this teacher didn't discuss any of these. She was just let you just had this picture up here because the day before they had read a story about fireworks, and it was from a Chinese perspective about the creation of fireworks and that kind of thing. And then she asked the kids, when do we have fireworks? And the kids, and they said 4th of July. She said, why? None of them knew it. So a first grade lesson, she's like, you know what? We're going to talk about the 4th of July the next day because she had a book to read. So all these kids were asking these questions and she was about to close it. Now, this was first graders, so they weren't writing the questions. She was asking these questions out loud. I mean, they were asking these questions out loud and she was writing them down. So that took about 7 minutes. These questions you're looking up here, you guys. And sometimes she thought, you know what? That's probably all the questions. As she was getting ready to close the inquiry, she said, okay. And then I could tell that she was getting ready to say, so that's it. This one little girl raises her hand, and I'm starting to be dramatic, but this is so much fun on this one. And this one little teeny tiny little girl raises her hand and she asked a question. And it's the last question, number 13. Why are they all men? A first grader, you all, a first grader.
Awesome. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah. And when she asked that question, I mean, every adult in the room, because there were 3 of us, maybe 4. I think there was there was 2 of us observing, and then the teacher, and I think there was an aide, and we all just went and looked at the little girl. You guys, they teach entire classes in college on that one question. So she asked that, and the teacher had to answer it the next day when they did that reading. There was questions they came back to. So I want you guys to think about when you open up questioning for your students, because this is so important. I wish we had time, and Mary really, and I'm going to shut up, and we're way over. We're over now 2 minutes, actually 3. So I'm shutting up. So I just want you guys to think about this on your own. What would, how would you facilitate with your students? Please remember, my name is Kim Surgent. My email is kimberly.surgent@Letcher, and you know the rest. Contact Mary if you would like help developing a QFT with your students. It takes minutes. So holler at me, and I would love to talk to you guys. But if you have any comments or other questions, go right ahead. And Mary, take over, close the show.
Well, that is fabulous, Kim. I love QFT. I think it's a wonderful tool to use. I'm going to drop in the chat the feedback survey. I already put the participant folder that has all the documents and information Kim made reference to. So make sure that you click on that participant folder, and you want to go to today's date, which is the November 2023. And that has all the PowerPoints and everything that she used today, and then some additional resources to support you. But if you will, please fill out the feedback survey. It should email you a certificate so that you can turn that in to your principal or your PD coordinator in your district so that they will know that you have attended. If you do not get an email with the certificate, please let us know, and we will do our best to get you that copy. But thank you all for staying with us this evening and learning about another great resource.
And Mary, tomorrow, what I may do is send you an email so you can send it out to all of them. You guys, writequestion.org. Please write that down. Go to there. You can make a free account. They have all kinds of articles and resources for you to learn and to really use QFT. And again, please message me. I'm happy to help you to do this in your classroom.
Oh, I forgot that, Cody. I will check on that for you. Thank you for the reminder. Thank you. Thank you for being here, guys. Appreciate you all being with us today. I dropped in the chat the link to the Right Question Institute. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Yeah, Cody, I forgot. Now, you're talking about the social studies in the teacher meeting, I believe, right? Are you still in there, Cody? You may have left. Was it the social
No, I'm here.
studies?
Yeah. Yep.
It was the
I believe
social
so.
studies. Okay. All right. So
Yeah.
Kim and Brana, you all need to get him a certificate for that time when he was dressed up and it wouldn't recognize him.
Cody, please don't let me forget. I won't forget.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you, Cody. And thank you for talking for me tonight. That's awesome.
Could I ask a question?
Yes.
Can I get a like the link to those slides, and maybe for the recording?
Yes. Now, Mr. McKinney, are you in Morgan County?
Yes, I am.
You are the assistant principal, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, at the high
Yes,
school.
that participant folder, does it not have everything in it, Kim? You put the
Mhm.
PowerPoint in there too. So did
Mhm.
you let me go back and drop it in the chat for you, Mr. McKinney?
And I'll tell you, Mr. McKinney, I would love to talk about, because I'm in Morgan County probably 3 or 4 times a month. So, here lately. So I mean, I would love to come in like this, this summer, and because I mean this training, because this doing it the way we did it with this, for some people just to watch it may be a little difficult, but yeah,
I really enjoyed, this. So
yeah,
anything else
yeah.
I could imagine, but the participation folder, I'm not sure what you mean when you say that. Because
Look at
I
the
just got this
chat.
link from.
Look at the chat right now, and there is a participant
Okay.
folder link. So if you click on that, now here's just my warning, and you probably have a great organizational system, but if you don't star that or bookmark that folder, I lose stuff. I can't ever find it. So you want to make sure you mark that, but that has all of our things that we have done with the new teachers. So so that you're aware of that. So I will put the recording in there when it's ready from this training too. So we'll even have the recording in there.
Okay. Yeah, I pinned it up top. That way I have it. It's Google Drive.
There
Correct?
you go. Yes.
Okay.
It's
All right.
in Google Drive. You can add it to Starred or, do the favorites or pinned, whatever you prefer to use, what works for you. But that gets you
Okay.
that. And if you have anything else, just email us and we'll get you what you need.